Welcome back to whatever this is. Today I got something pretty fun in store today. We're going to look at my top and worst books of 2025 so far. I know this isn't exactly mid-year. I mean, we're in August at this point. But to be honest, I don't really care. I had meant to do one of these videos in like June, July, somewhere around there, and then I just completely forgot, and then I went, oh, I should probably do that. Plus, a year is such a long time. I feel like I need to give a little update, in the middle. Let's break it up into little chunks. That being said, let's get started. So I'm someone who likes to get the bad stuff out of the way. So we're going to do that. The first book I have that I did not enjoy that I read this year was Bridge to Terabithia. Now, this is an interesting one, not because I thought it was a bad book, but because how disappointed I was reading it. I don't know how old you are watching this, but when I grew up, Bridge to Terabithia, the movie, Josh Hutcherson, it was like my thing. I mean, I feel like it was everyone's thing. I used to just watch it over and over, and it was such a good film, and even young little me felt the sadness that came off of it. And I didn't even know it was a book for the longest time. It was like a year ago that I figured out it was one. And so when I started it, I had this huge hype in my mind that I was going to be bawling, which, let's be honest, like everyone wants to cry here and there. And I wanted to feel that then. But as I got through the book, I just was like not that connected to the characters. I didn't feel any of the impact that I felt with the movie, which I guess gives more score to the movie for being able to do that for me. And I mean, it wasn't like the worst or anything like that. Like there was some moments where I felt sad reading it, but it definitely lacked the oomph that the movie had. And so at the end of the day, I think I rated it like a 7 or something, which obviously that's not a bad score, but I feel like I had to include it just because of how disappointed I was with it. Next up, I have Kurt Vonnegut's Player Piano. I read this one for my video about reading authors' first published books, and I had really high hopes for this one because I had heard so much good things about Kurt Vonnegut and like Slaughterhouse-Five, which maybe I should have read that instead. This was like extremely boring for me. Like getting through this was not an easy task, which I feel like is a rare thing for me to say about a dystopian novel. Like everyone loves dystopian, and I feel like I love it particularly even more than the average person. And so I thought this was just going to be like a slam dunk, but it wasn't. And the world building in it, like what a dystopian needs you to do, just wasn't there. I just didn't feel the turmoil that I felt like I needed to feel about a, dystopian environment. Like I got the gimmick in the book about like separating classes and machines taking over and whatnot, but it didn't seem that important in the book. And the main character, that guy was annoying as hell, dude. No one likes that guy. I don't like that guy. Guy can go away. But I'm going to mention this again, like I mentioned in that last video, is I'm definitely going to read Kurt Vonnegut again. I'd probably read Slaughterhouse-Five or Cat's Cradle is my guess. Just because I feel like this was maybe just a bad choice. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, it was his first book. Give him another chance. This book here that I'm going to show you is the first book I read this year. And it's going to be pretty controversial because I know people love this book. So bear with me. It's just an opinion, guys. We have The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. So I read this book for a book club I was in, and all of us agreed like this sounded really interesting. Like the environment, like what time period it was in, our characters, like everything about the synopsis of this book screamed that I would enjoy it. And this is coming from someone who doesn't really read historical fiction. So I went in this high hopes. I thought this was going to be dope as hell, but it was so unbelievably long and boring. I felt like this book could have erased like 100 pages. The beginning really got me hooked. It did a good job at getting me in, where I was like, oh my God, okay, there's like a murder going on, and we're living in a kind of like sexist society, and like our main character, she seems really smart. I wonder how this is going to go down. And then we got like 100, 200 pages worth of just really the same crap over and over. Like she'd deliver a baby and it would be tough because this one doctor, he sucks. And oh, she delivered another baby and it sucked because this doctor, and then she delivered another baby, but the woman, she was really upset about it. And the dad, he was really upset about it, and yada, yada. I think he was supposed to build our character or build tension at least. It did not do that though. Not for me at least. It also really started focusing on other like plots rather than the one that was in the synopsis about the murder. Like I felt like the murder was the big plot in the beginning and then quickly got like put that to the side for a moment. And then a lot of the book is about these other plots that show up. I didn't like that. I wanted to know about the murder. Like, that's what was exciting me. You know, I liked this mystery that was going on. And so when you like have that in the beginning as this big thing, it tension is built and I'm into the book now. And then you side plot it and then you bring it back near the end and you conclude it in a, by the way, kind of disappointing way. I didn't really enjoy the ending. It felt very unsatisfying to me. Well, that's just kind of a recipe for not a great book. I think I see why people like the book. But if I'm going to be completely honest, I felt like it was really boring. But, you know, more power to them. If you enjoy a book, I ain't going to stop you. But that concludes my not so favorite books of the year. Here I have 5 of my top books that I've read. I had more good things about this year so far than the bad ones. And honestly, none of these books are like really, really bad. Like, they're kind of like 4s in my head. Like, they're not like ruining my day or anything. Like, they're just not my favorite. And I probably wouldn't read it or suggest it to someone. First up, we got my favorite nonfiction I've read this year, which is The Anthropocene, reviewed by John Green. If you've been with my channel for a while, you know I love John Green. I discovered him. It was my first video where I started reading John Green, and I kind of found excuses to read him more. And he's become one of my favorite authors, and this is no exception to that. Like, this is what I want from a nonfiction book. Like, just John Green giving me his own insights and his own mindset and the way he thinks about things, about all these different topics. If you don't know anything about it, basically he just gives little essays about the most random stuff in the world that he found interesting and gives you his thoughts about them. And then he rates them. So for example, there's a chapter about teddy bears and he talks about how teddy bears came to be, his personal experience with them. And he goes, yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. Like, it was such a fun idea for a book and I enjoyed it so much. And so when I finished it, it wasn't like a fiction book where the story ended and I was like, oh, I want more story. It was like I wanted him to keep coming up with more topics. Like, I wanted this to be like a whole podcast, and it just never ends. Seriously surprised me, though. I absolutely love that book. Next book I have up kind of surprised me maybe a little bit. It's The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. This one was probably the saddest and sweetest book I read this year. It's essentially just a pure fiction book with the only exclusion to that being that we are the perspective of a dog who thinks like a human. So we're viewing everything from this dog's brain and how he sees things and what he has seen. And so that just gives the like reader this whole new perspective on family life. And so we start off this story with like Enzo being old, and it's like giving you a little flash of what the ending's probably going to be about. And then we start all the way from the beginning when he gets first adopted. And you see this dog almost grow as a person with like his parents and, you know, the parents' daughter. And it's this really beautiful story. And like another thing is it wasn't too crazy ever. Like, one thing I always appreciate about books is when conflict is happening, but it's not like outworldly. Like, this feels like something that could have happened in real life. And we're seeing Denny, the parent, Enzo, the dog, deal with this in their own ways and how they perceive it. But most importantly, this is a book about like love for family and love for a pet, which is your family. The feeling I got with this book is kind of what I wanted with Bridge with Terabithia. Like, I wanted to feel that emotion, and this book succeeded. I seriously cannot suggest enough people pick up this book and read it. I do not think you would regret it at all. Next up, this book, I almost forgot to put it on this list because this series has become so infamous for me. I almost don't feel the need to like talk about it, I guess, in a way. We got Sunrise of the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is obviously the new book for the Hunger Games series. And if you watched my Hunger Games ranking video, you would know that it ranked second among all the Hunger Games books, which that's pretty good. I'm going to assume you know about the Hunger Games and just let you know that this book focuses on Haymitch's journey and his personal Hunger Game and kind of like why he became the person he is. And out of all the Hunger Games books I've read, it is the most down to earth and saddest book I've read. It really like fleshes out Haymitch in a way that I didn't think they could do. A lot of authors, they create these like extra books or whatnot to, flesh out side characters that people loved. Usually those books don't do that great of a job. I find they're just unnecessary. But this felt not only necessary, but something that needed to happen. And it did a damn good job at it. I talk about this book more in that video, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But like, if you've read The Hunger Games, they're great books. If you haven't read it, go get yourself a copy. What are you doing, fool? Next up, we got a book from my space book video I did recently, which was Project Hail Mary. I was told this book was really good, so I kind of trusted the people who were telling me this and assumed I was going to have a good time. And they were not wrong. This was a story that made me appreciate friendship. A lot of stories nowadays, they focus on love and like relationships in that terms. And look, that's always sweet and all. Relationships are important and like that. But one thing I always appreciate with any medium, music, movies, books, is when they talk about friendship. And this book did it perfectly with our main character and the other character that gets introduced a little later on. Seeing these two completely different people, if you know what I'm saying, if you read it, I'm not gonna spoil it. Seeing these two people learn to get along and understand each other and literally just become best friends in space was one of my highlights for all my books. It was just such a wholesome story, and it wasn't even just that. It was very it was sciencey without it being too sciencey where I'm getting lost. So we got friendship going on, right? And they're doing these little science projects essentially, right? And it's not losing me? That sounds like a hell of a time. Also, if you don't know, our main character, he has amnesia in the beginning of the book. And it's one of those where he, gets more memories as the book goes on, you discover more, yada yada. And those amnesia stories are usually hit and miss for me. So when that first was going on, I didn't know how I was going to feel about it, but this book does a really good job at doing it. I don't know, it was kind of just like a fun book. Like, I had so much fun reading this. Like, I read it pretty quick. I didn't ever really want to stop. I kept reading it until I had some excuse that I needed to do something else. Also, side note, the movie trailer for this book, right when I finished the book, a day later, the trailer for the film came out. I don't know about you guys, but I think I may have caused that. I think me reading the book caused Hollywood to we got to make it. Anyways, one of the best space books I've read in my entirety of existing on this planet. So I would check it out if I were you. All right, my final book and my favorite so far this year that I've read for the first time is John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. I questioned whether or not I should put John Green on this more than once, but I'd be lying to say that this was not one of my top books. And also, let's highlight the guy. John Green's a great author. I have not come across one of his books that I did not like. So yeah, I'm going to highlight the dude. The Fault in Our Stars is what I want from a YA book. There's too many YA books I read where I just cannot connect to the characters because they do not feel like either me or they just don't feel like real people. Like the way they behave around things, how they deal with problems, it seems either ridiculous or just a way to further the plot. Either way, I'm just not a fan of it ever. So that's what made The Fault in Our Stars so great, is because Hazel and Augustus, they felt like different parts of me. I'm reading and there's things Hazel's saying that I would be like, dude, I would be saying that in the same fucking situation. And Augustus, he'd say some crazy shit and it would be like, yes, that's exactly how I think all the time. But they both have their own flaws too, where Augustus is so existential that it almost kind of ruins his days sometime. And Hazel, she's a bit of a nihilist and that kind of ruins hers. But I find myself kind of behaving like them. And so I'm reading this and they don't feel like characters, they feel like people. This book ate up and it left no crumbs for the rest of us. Also, I really did also enjoy how it dealt with the whole cancer theme and dealing with that, and how both of our main characters, they didn't want to be victims. They understood that people treated them this way for a reason and they did not blame them for that, but they had this perspective on life and their own troubles with it, and it's such a just unique way that really stuck with me. And I think at this moment, The Fault in Our Stars is my #1 book I've read this year. I'm leaving it open to change. I might find other things, but it feels like it's going to be hard to beat. I've had just such a fun time reading this year with me starting this channel and doing all these different reading challenges and giving me an excuse to read things I might never have read in the first place. It's just been super fun for me. And making this wrap up is just making me appreciate that more. And so I really thank you for watching. I hope you gained something from my recommendations or my unrecommendations, whatever that word is. But most importantly, I hope you enjoy reading. So get back out there, fool. Get some reading done. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.